gigawatts of generation capacity. And that's only picking very high temperature type geothermal development. If you start to go to lower temperatures, then it's probably 3 or 4 times that. So it highlights the fact that Indonesia has the potential, certainly has the physical potential. Now what it needs to do is develop the political will and the policy to support the development of geothermal. Geothermal's never had any breaks here. It doesn't get any tax breaks. There's no subsidies or anything, but it's a viable business. And I don't think any of the developers that are trying to get the business, to the next level here are looking for government support, looking for subsidies, not even looking really for tax breaks. But there needs to be an even playing field. There needs to be an appropriate tariff. There needs to be, and the tariff needs to be appropriately structured so that investors will invest their capital in geothermal. That's starting to happen. It's starting to happen. There's a new wave of geothermal development that's just getting going now. At the moment, there's only about just over 1 gigawatt of geothermal capacity in the country. As I said, that could be 30 gigawatts, which would more than double the current grid. So our experience is that it's a terrific business. It's clearly an extremely important part of the future for Indonesia. There have been institutional barriers in place that have, if not prevented, certainly slowed down the growth of the geothermal industry in the country. That's changing, and the industry is about to enter a new spurt, gain a whole new level of momentum.
Thank you very much. Who wanted to ask the second question? I'm sure I saw a hand. And let's take a third question as well, so we can rack up a few and put some more panelists on the spot. So can we see some more hands for a third question, please? Yes, okay, so number 3. So do we just take...
Can I just jump in and say that I'd like to give an example of collaboration with geothermal here in Indonesia. This morning I was having breakfast with some people here at the conference, and they were saying we have 6 to 7 factories of maybe 20,000 people or more in each one. And what we'd like to do is bring them together to do bulk buying of geothermal power. So this is an example where a convener, not necessarily an NGO, but a convener could go to multiple companies and say, would you like to do bulk buying, and let's go negotiate with Brett over here. But then Brett is happy because he has volume, and he can then create another power plant.
Just do it. Yeah. Okay, let's one and then 2.
Thank you for the chance. Good afternoon. I'm Christian Timothy. I'm a student from East Java. My question is, how is the way to empower all company, industries, and business to join the movement for this sustainability for the environment? Is there any way started from this Global Summit conference to ask and to gather all kind of business to have same idea to keep Earth in the very good condition? Thank you.
That's definitely a question that each of the panelists should answer, the empowerment question. While you're preparing your answers, let's take the third question from the gentleman over in the corner.
Yes, hi. My name is Hilman from Bluebird Group. My question is that it's regarding the public transportation in Indonesia. We would like to know, in your perspective, by seeing the situation in Indonesia at the moment, I would like to know, are we ready yet to have hybrid public transportations? And in order to achieve that, are there any steps? Could you give us some examples from overseas, for instance? How do they achieve the hybrid public transportations? Thank you.
We don't have a transportation company on the panel, but I'm sure that at the minimum SAP has a lot of expertise in that sector, and information is definitely part of the solution, certainly in Jakarta, from my experience. So, Darren, maybe you could tackle that question as part of your empowerment response. But if we can run down the panel from Daud on tackling the empowerment question, and then Darren, just to make you work even harder, if you can just do transportation as well, that would be great. Peggy, you'll also have some ideas about China's amazing progress in public transportation, although I don't know if high-speed rail is on the agenda in Indonesia at this stage, but you'll also have some ideas.
Yeah, so
If you could start on how to empower and inspire the next generation through your company's work.
Well, to answer the for the first question, to answer the first question is the key is we have to do it together in order to have the business sustainable, especially in our industry, in my industry, in the oil palm industry. We have to do it together with the all stakeholder, including the government. There always a misunderstanding or misperception between or amongst the stakeholders between the legal understanding of the rule and regulation in Indonesia and a physical point of view. A good example is the land allocated for the oil palm development. Land allocated for the oil palm development, according to the government regulation, it is legal based on the rule and regulation in Indonesia. After we deduct a certain percentage of the area of the land that cannot be cultivated because of government regulation, for example, river riparian, for example, the stiffness of the stiffness of the area, and then we also deduct the suitability of the land because it is not suitable for oil palm industry, and also based on the international, like for example RSPO principle and criteria, the HCV area, high conservation value area that cannot be developed. The balance, we can develop according to the Indonesian rule and regulation. But the other stakeholders also see it from the physical point of view. The area, even though it is legally can be developed, but if the area is still having the area is, for example, having a high carbon stock, still have a primary forest over there, then this cannot be, according to a few stakeholders, another stakeholders, this cannot be developed because it contains high carbon. So,
okay, so can I just try to encapsulate your response there? It's about convening all of the stakeholders.
Actually, the key is the common understanding of the global sustainability. Then a reconciliation between the rule and regulation and the physical condition of the land. Once it is met, then we can do the business sustainable.
Fantastic, thank you. Darren, you've got a double challenge now,
right.
And the time is marching on, so I think we only have about 5 or 7 minutes left for the whole session. So if people could be, it's a sort of 1 minute per point.
Okay, very quickly on the transportation question. So we work with a lot of transportation companies and airlines. For airlines, the issue is really about fuel optimization, and the same for road and rail freight as well. A lot of it, therefore, comes down to the shape of the vehicle, the type of fuel, and for road transportation, the driving style. We have customers in Australia that have saved something like 20% of their fuel bill simply by educating their drivers how to drive, to not stop, start, to keep rolling. Other organisations use a lot of GPS equipment to change their route so that they're not stopping at traffic lights and trying to turn into oncoming traffic, and they'll go do a left turn, a left turn, a left turn, and then go that way. And they've saved something like 70 million litres of fuel just by changing where they drive, not even necessarily how they drive. and then working with the products that you're transporting and change the packaging and the way that packaging fits into the truck to optimise that. So there's actually